Hey everybody, it is Thursday, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It is time for Frame Your Day with Efia. Hello to everybody coming in on Instagram, on Facebook, and on the podcast. I see you all coming in, and as you come in, if you're able to, please share this out. We're going in on the power of two, and everybody needs to know this. You know, I'm just listen, right now it's some Thai tribute. I want it all back. As a matter of fact, I've taken it all back. And I think you have the power to take it all back yourself. Good afternoon, William. Good afternoon, Donald. Good afternoon, Jay. I see you, my sister, on Instagram. Hey, the great Mike. I see you coming in. And TJ Franklin Delano, thank you so much for joining. Let me see who else is on here. 187 Ninja, I see you. Oh, Rosie, I see you. All right, we're coming. Listen, we're going hard today. Nicole, I see you. Praise. Grace and peace to you, woman of God. Come on in, everybody. We're doing this good today. Let's go. Standing. If you are in a position and you are able to, to really go in, let's worship before we jump in. Ready? Give me my stuff back. Give me my stuff. Give me my stuff back. I want it all. Come on. Give me my stuff back. Give me my stuff. As a matter of fact, we're just taking it. We're not asking the enemy to give us nothing. We are taking it back today. All right? I want that. 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 Come on. Everybody listen. Let's go. I want that. I want that. And what about the... I want that. And what about the... What? I want that. I want that. Woo! And all your destiny. I want that. I want that. Come on, everybody. Come on in. Come on in. I want that. Let me tell you something. If anybody told you there's no fun in Christianity, there's a lie. Because it's about relationship. And we are about having fun in the kingdom too. I want that. Go ahead, Jay. Tell him. All right. So, you know what? I think I'm going to stop right there. We're talking about the power of two today. So, agreement. But before we do that, we're going to go into, listen, let me just take a pause for a second. If this is your first time joining Frame Your Day with Efia, I want to say welcome. Thank you for joining. If it is, please indicate with the number 1 in the comments field and let me know where you are tuning in from. And this way I can welcome you appropriately. If I don't get to see you right now, I will definitely come back and go through the comments and welcome you. So thank you for taking some time out of your day. If you are on lunch, I hope you've got your lunch and you're going to eat and get a word at the same time. Right? You love him out. You want that. Listen, I'm telling you, we got to be vocal and take what we want. What God has made available for us is available for us for the taking. If grace has made it, we're taking it. Okay, so I'm going to go into Frame Your Day. Indiana. Aaron Boone, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I see you from Indiana. So here's a copy of Frame Your Day for Victory in 60 Seconds. This is a copy of my book. If you haven't gotten it, grab it on Amazon or on EfiaLeatham.com. We're going to start, like always, reading our daily, we'll call it weekly since we do this only once a week. All right. Okay, so if you have your book or if you have a copy of the old titled, it is page 169 and it is day 161. And again, it's just random. And it says, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Today, as you go forward in victory, know that your true character is developed by the things you do, the attitude you have, and the way you behave when no one is around or looking. Take off any facades you've been wearing for others and let the real you stand up. He came so you would be free from what holds you captive. Be free to be you. Hashtag, it's the only way to live. Gotta be free. You got to be free. Nipa, thank you so much for joining from Bangladesh. I see you. God bless you. All right. So here you go. Copy of Frame Your Day for Victory for 60 seconds for you. And then here is Frame Your Day for Victory for the school year for your children, ages 5 to 12. So go ahead and get a copy of it on EfiaLeatham.com or Amazon.com. Anyway, let us go in, and we're doing the power of 2. We're talking about the power of 2. So, you know what? I forgot to put this one on. Oh, Bones, I see you. I see you. I see you, my brother. He is out in Dubai at the time. Look here. I see you. Thank you so much for joining. Like, you're on vacation in Dubai, but you've tuned in. I love you. Okay, so let's go in and stop playing around. Well, obviously, it's actually night. I get it. So that's why I said good day, good morning, good evening, good night, depending on where you are. Hello. Anyway, all right, guys, let's go in. Ready? I'm saying ready, and I forgot to do something. I'm not ready. The devil is well, no, I can't even blame the devil. This is me. Okay, so let me do 1 second, guys. Let me get rid of this. Okay. Now we can do this. All right. So there's power in 2 becoming 1. You must come into agreement. Listen. You got to come into agreement with what God has said about you in order for you to see manifestation or production. So that's the first place of the power of 2. You have got to come into agreement with what God has said about you. You have got to believe what God has said about you. So I know we're going to go into the power of 2, but I want you to understand before we even start anything, before you can really get into anything, you've got to believe and come into agreement with what God has said about you, okay? The power of agreement brings multiplication. So the power of 2 brings multiplication. 1, let's just look at it mathematically. 1 cannot multiply by itself. 1 times 1 stays at 1. There's no multiplication. There's no increase. So likewise, you by yourself cannot multiply. You cannot multiply by yourself. So in order for you to multiply, you must have at least 1 more. Here comes the power of 2. 2, listen, no man is an island. And stop, and if you think you can do things by yourself and you can increase by yourself, that is not true. You need an additional in order to multiply. In order to increase, there's got to be at least a minimum of 2. So you guys know I'm very big on defining. So we're going to define agreement. I found a couple definitions in here. And let me see. The first one I see for me is harmony of opinion, action, or character. Another definition is an act of fact, of agreeing, an arrangement as to a course of action, a trade, a contract duly executed and legally binding the language or instrument. Keep that one right here in the back of your head. To concur in, to consent to as a course of action. Keep that one over here on this side. To accept or concede something. That's 3 we need to hold on to. To achieve or be in harmony as of opinion, feeling, or purpose. To be similar, to be consistent. To be fitting, pleasing, or healthful. So here's mine. To be or to agree is to be on one accord. To agree is to be on one accord. And an example of that is the apostles in the upper room. It's got to be a minimum of 2, okay? Let me see. I'm just reading something. Okay. All right. So we're going to jump in. If you got your pen and paper, write down these scriptures. And I want you to go back and I want you to study the scriptures because everything here is based on what the word says. I want you to be able to go back and study this for yourself. Okay. So Numbers 14 verses 6 to 9. And it says, and Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were of them that searched the land rent their clothes, and they spoke unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceeding good land. If the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only rebel not you against the Lord, neither fear you the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Fear them not. Okay, so I want to look at this. Okay, so just before we jump in, I want to look at, listen, I want to break this down somewhere here. Sean, thank you so much for joining. I see you on Instagram. Joshua, I'm going to break something down. We're just going to look at this before we jump in, okay, guys? Joshua was from the tribe of Ephraim, and Caleb was from the tribe of Judah. So I want us to look at this very, very quickly. Ephraim, the meaning of Ephraim is fruitful. And the meaning of Judah is praise. So these two, Caleb and Joshua, these two were in agreement. So one is from the tribe of fruitful, and the other is from the tribe of praise. The 12 that were sent out to go spy the land by Moses, 2 came back. But the 2 that came back was one from the tribe of fruitful and from the tribe of praise. These 2 were in agreement, and these 2, their agreement brought forth production and caused transition for them to go pursue and overtake. Who are you in agreement with? Who is running with you that you know their history, you know their lineage? The tribe of fruitful and the tribe of praise. Be mindful of those that you let run with you, that you come into agreement with, because let me tell you right off the bat, not everybody that is running with you is in agreement with what you are doing. So be mindful of who you tell your vision to, who you speak to, who you do, whatever it is, because not everybody is here to agree with you. Some are going to come to bring discord and division. Okay, so the 12 went out, 2 came back. Let's break it down just a little bit more. Caleb, what does Caleb mean? Caleb's name means faithful. And if we go into chapter 13, and I think it is verse 8. Verse 8 in chapter 13. O'Shea was the original name of Joshua before Moses changed his name in verse 16 to Joshua. So O'Shea means salvation, God delivers. Moses changed his name to Joshua, and Joshua's name then meant salvation. I'm lying. It meant Jehovah is generous, is what Joshua means. So he started off with the name O'Shea, God delivers, or salvation, and his name was changed to Joshua. Now that is Jehovah is generous. So when you look at the 2 that went into the land, the promised land, and came back, if we break it down, we see that the 2 that came into agreement from the tribe of praise and faithfulness were the 2 that saw Jehovah is generous and faithful. Oh my God. This means this is good for me. So the lineage, faithful and praise, took Jehovah, who is generous and faithful, went into the land and came back, and they were then able to go in. God is generous and he is faithful. Those were the 2 that was what the agreement was, the power of those 2 right there that went and were able to then bring the tribe or the children of Israel. Know who you are partnering up with. Make sure that you know God is in there with you, because I don't want you going with people who are going to take you in a completely different direction. You don't want that for yourself either. Okay, let's go to Genesis 11, verses 1 through 7. And it says, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained for them or from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confounded their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. They spoke as one, they moved as one, everyone spoke one language, and they understood the same things. There was no confusion amongst them, because all understood what was said by the next person. No matter where they were, the whole earth was one language. They were able to understand the vision presented without division or second guessing what was told, because they all moved in one vein. And God said, listen, God said, there will be nothing restrained from them. Behold, the people is one. So if we can speak the same language, meaning, and I'm not meaning what comes out of your mouth, but us speaking the same language of clear communication, understanding what it is that we're trying to get across. If we see the same image, if we see the same vision, we will be one and nothing will be restrained from us. But do you see how division and discord has come into the body and just among men, so that people are forever in some kind of friction opposed to gelling with each other? They were able to build to the heavens because the power of agreement within them was one. They couldn't be stopped. There was nothing that was going to stop them. The only thing that stopped them was God's intervention. Had God not intervened there, listen, nothing was going to be held back from him. God himself said it in that scripture. He said it himself. They saw things the same way, and they were able to accomplish what it was they wanted to get done. They moved as one. There was power in their agreement. Do you understand that if you can come into agreement with another, not only will you see multiplication and increase, but there's nothing going to be stopped from you from accomplishing. You can do just about anything, but you can do so with agreement from others. Real agreement, not people pretending to be in your corner and backstabbing you on the other side. No, people who can see into the vision, and we can all pick up our part of it and go with it and carry it through. Let's go to Genesis 1:26 and 28. Most of us know, this is we're going to the first book of Genesis. All right. And it says, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply. God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. God spoke to them. God didn't speak to him or to her. He didn't speak to male or to female only. He spoke to them. There was two. He told them, go, replenish, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth. There is no way one person can be fruitful and multiply by themselves. If you want to try and think so, I mean, hey, you cannot do so. God had said it at that point right there. And I would say that would be the law of first mention. He spoke to them. It came to two. God already knew without two, there was no way multiplication could come forth. There was no way increase could come forth. There was no way reproduction could come forth. So there had to be two, the minimum of two. One cannot be fruitful and multiply by themselves. The enemy himself knows this. And he knows that you cannot reproduce by yourself. So what he ends up trying to do is he tries to keep you isolated from everybody else. Yes, you know, offense happens and whatever else, but then you get caught in that, sitting in yourself, sitting in your feelings. You don't want to talk to people. I don't like people. I don't trust people. I don't this, I don't that. But you are standing by yourself. And in that that isolation, you can't reproduce. So the best way to kill off something is to keep it by itself. That's right, Pastor Daryl. Two are better than one. Listen, one, where am I? He knows one cannot multiply alone. One, again, we said 1 times 1 is 1 and does not change. So if you are kept isolated or separated from others, you won't increase. And I know I just said that. Increase comes in them, right? We saw that right there in 28. God blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply. It is not Genesis 2:18. God said, and it's not good for the man to be alone. I will make for him a helpmeet for him. God saw that it was not good for Adam to be by himself. Here he brought forth Eve out of Adam. Female already existed, but he brought her out because Adam would not be able to manage by himself. He needed two. So there is power and increase in at least two. We're looking at two, but we know more than two. There's even more power. Scripture says 1 will put 1,000 to flight. 2 will put 10,000 to flight. Look at that multiplication. 1 will put 1,000, but 2 will put 10,000. That 1,000 is multiplied by 10. That's 2. Now imagine if you start add another person. That's another 10. And then another 10. Look at that multiplication. Do you see the power of multiplication? Just in that example right there. 1 will put 1,000 to flight, but 2 will put 10,000 to flight. Come on. God doesn't work in addition. He works in multiplication. Let me just say that to you. Let's go to Genesis 17. I'm going to give you the entire passage, but I'm only going to read a couple things. I want you to write down Genesis 17, verses 1 through 22. That is the whole portion there, but I'm only going to read from a couple sections. So I'm going to read from verse 2, verse 4, and then verses 6 to 9. Okay? So let's start at 2. And I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. See, God said God didn't say I'm going to add you or add to you. I'm going to multiply you. As for verse 4, as for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. And then verse 6 says, and I will make you exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come out of you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your seed after you in the generations for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto you and to your seed after you. And I will give unto you and to your seed after you the land wherein you are a stranger, and all the land of Canaan for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, you shall keep my covenant, therefore, you and your seed after you in their generations. In that passage from verses 1 through 22, and I read only a couple, but I want you to see. Covenant is referenced or said by God 11 times in 22 verses. 11 times. A covenant cannot be made with only one person. God kept telling Abraham, my covenant is between me and you. My covenant is between me and you. Me and you. Me and you. That's two. God and Abraham, two individuals. The covenant could not go forth. God could not make, well, he could, but in the land, he had to make a covenant with somebody. So he made covenant with Abram, who then became Abraham, and said, listen, good gracious. God came into covenant with Abram and said, it is enough. He said it okay, let me put it this way. He said, I'm making my covenant between me and you. He said it so many times that it sunk into Abraham, that it became a part of Abraham, that Abraham knew that whatever God is talking is between me and him. God has made a covenant with me, and it sunk into him. He said it 11 times in 22 verses. That's basically one every other verse, at least once every other verse, if we were to break it down in that sense. But without two, there was no covenant. Covenant, one of the definitions we mentioned earlier in regards to agreement is a legally binding agreement. God made a legally binding agreement with Abraham. And, we know that he put Abraham to sleep and he walked through Abraham, so that the covenant he made with Abraham, actually, he really made it with himself, but used Abraham in there, that covenant had to come to pass. So whatever God has promised you, know that God has come into covenant with you, and he's going to keep his portion of the covenant. He's never, ever going to go back on his word. And if God was to ever go back on his word, let me tell you, God and everything he has done will cease to exist. It's never going to happen. God is not going to cease to exist ever. And he's never going to change. All right. There is power. So God needs someone in order to make whatever it is great. He needed Abraham in order to set the covenant in motion, for everything to flow through. But God is still making covenants today. God still has need of us. He still has need of us, okay? There is power, multiplication, reproduction available, but there has to be a minimum of two in order for that to happen. Let's go to Ruth verses 3 through 6. And scripture says, wash yourself therefore and anoint you and put your raiment upon you and get you down to the floor. But make not yourself known unto the man until he shall have done eating and drinking. And it shall be when he lies down that you shall mark the place where he shall lie, and you shall go in and uncover his feet and lay you there, or lay down. And he will tell you what you shall do. And she said unto her, all that you say unto me I will do. And she went down unto the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. Naomi gave Ruth instruction. Ruth came into agreement with the instruction that was given to her. She didn't disregard it. She took it. She followed the instruction, positioned So the following of the instruction positioned Ruth to receive her greatest aligning for receiving her greatest blessing and the coming of reproduction. Her reproduction produced from her lineage King David. So her following the instruction that Naomi gave her allowed her to position herself to receive. So she came into agreement. That was right there. Naomi and Ruth. I'm looking at the power of two. Naomi gave Ruth instruction. She received it. She came into agreement with what was told to her, and she followed it to a T. And following the instructions given to her allowed King David to come forth in the future. The power of two. You have no idea what is going to come forward and come from you. Hey sis, I see you. COPW. That you have no idea what is going to come forth through you. When you come into agreement, don't break the movement or the momentum of the agreement. If it doesn't appear right away, understand it will if you will continue to hold on to it and keep going through with it. If God has told you to do. That's it. Do until you see manifestation. Don't stop doing until you see the manifestation of what you've been told to do. It was given to you for a reason. It was given to you for a reason. God told it to you, or it was shown to you. It was laid out before you for a reason. There is a purpose. And I remember weeks ago, it may not make sense, but it makes purpose. So just follow through with whatever it is until you see the manifestation of what it is you know is coming. You will receive. So if you will follow through with the momentum and not kill the momentum, you will receive and see fruit come out of it. And God is placing you at the feet of your next open door. Listen here. He is putting you at the feet of your next open door if you will follow the instructions. He's going to favor those who have the position to elevate you in the things of God. So focus and stay the course. Do not kill the momentum. Do not kill the momentum. Because right now in this season, God is putting you at the feet of the open door that is about to be open unto you. But you got to follow the instructions and don't kill the momentum. Come into agreement with what God has said about you, okay? Let's go to Esther. Esther 4, verses 13 through 17. And scripture says, Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, Think not with yourself that you shall escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if you altogether hold your peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house shall be destroyed. And who knows whether you are come to the kingdom for such a time as this. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast you for me. And neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And will I go unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. Here we see the power of agreement and one accord with favor. So the power of agreement will bring favor with God and with men. Esther, in this sense, Esther was brought to be a deliverer for the people. And her hearing the request of Mordecai, someone that she grew up with, is her family. Let me just leave it at that. I'm not even going to bother going to that part of it. But what he brought to her, she responded. She took it in. She agreed with it, sent forth her instructions, and Mordecai came into agreement with her then response. And in them coming together and bringing together the people to fast and pray, to position themselves. After the 3 days, she was able to get strength, They came together for them to seek strength and find instruction from God before she made any movement. And on the third day, or after the third day of doing so, together as a unit, in agreement, on one accord, she went before the king. And she went before the king unsummoned, and the king extended the scepter to her of favor. That kept her from being killed. Now, had Esther declined to agree with Mordecai, then there may have been an onslaught of the people. But God, she came into agreement with what was said. I think she realized, when she heard what Mordecai said, she realized, I wasn't just put here for looks. I may have been put here for a reason. What was meant for evil, two touching and agreeing to bring forth change for God's fulfillment and purpose, is what turned things around. They came into agreement. The power of agreement. Okay, let's go to Amos, chapter 3, verse 3. And scripture simply says, can two walk together except they be agreed? Can two walk together unless they agree? Can two walk in the same direction and get to the same place? So two can walk together in the same direction and get to the same place. But two can't walk together in two different directions expecting to get somewhere. So you got to walk together, seeing together, hearing together, understanding together. You will never arrive at a destination together if you are going in two different directions. So can two walk together unless they agree? If you don't agree, you're not going to get anywhere together. You will just end up, you'll start like this, and you're gone. You're not going to get to where you need to be together. A relationship pulling in different directions will eventually pull apart. And I think that's pretty simple. Division, don't allow division into your relationships. Don't allow division from anywhere into your relationships. Division is simply the dividing of the vision and making it into two visions. And what does James say? James says, I believe in chapter 1, verse 5, an unstable man is, no, what is it? No, hold on. Oh my goodness. And I know the scripture too. Let me get my Bible real quick, because I just lost it. James 5. James 1 and 5, I think it is. Nope, it's James 5. I think it's 5. No, it's James 1:8. Sorry. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. That's what I wanted to say. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways, and he should not think he's going to receive anything of the Lord. That is a divided vision. You have to be single-minded. You've got to see things together. So in your relationships, you have got to see, not saying you've got to agree on everything, but the core of who you are as a unit must be moving in the same direction. Your core values, your principles, they must be the same. They've got to agree. Yes, there may be some variance. Variance is fine if you're looking at things the same way. But now if you start, listen, you're going in this direction, you want A, he wants B, or however you want to do it, you're not going to get to where you need to be. There's going to be a struggle, and it's going to pull everything apart. You have got to allow the Spirit of God to lead you and keep you guys united as one in the vision. So if you keep your focus on him, that is where your single vision will be, and he will take you where you need to be. So single vision is what gets to the end. Division will not. Matthew 18, verses 18 through 20. And it says, verily I say unto you, whatsoever you shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever you shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Again I say unto you that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they ask, Anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst. According to verse 18, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loosed shall be loosed. That right there is an agreement between heaven and earth. There's the power of 2. Okay? Then there is an agreement. So there's a connection flowing between heaven and earth that is bringing forth production. So if we loose it or bind it here, or actually, if it is loosed or bound there, we can bring it and loose it or bind it here. There is power in that connection right there. Heaven is working for and on the behalf of earth, but it can only be done if it is released out of our mouths. So we have to come into agreement with that portion and use the tools that we've been given in order to see production, manifestation, or reproduction, however you want to call it. But we need to. So you and I have to come into agreement with what God has said. And I know I said that right in the very beginning. If we will come into agreement with what God has said, we will see the manifestation and the reproduction or the production of whatever it is He has already purposed and planned for us. The power of agreement, or the power of 2, is explained very simply by Jesus in that portion there. He says in 19, again I say unto you, that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they ask, it shall be done. That is very simple. We make things so complicated. Why do we do this? Somebody please tell me, why do we make things so complicated? He said, if 2 of you will touch and agree. Simple. If 2 of us can come on one accord, see the vision, what God has given or deposited into myself or into you, however we want to look at it, and we can say, let me put it this way. If God has given you something, and you say to me, hey, Efia, this is what God has asked me to do. I want to go forth in this. Can you come into agreement with me? First of all, I will pray. I'm a person who prays for everything. But I will come into agreement with you. Now, if I'm supposed to do my part and help you bring that to fruition, I'm going to do that. But I'm going to do it 100% all the way behind you. I'm not going to do a portion of it and then take off running in another direction. I'm not about that. Because we get distracted. That's right, Salima, you're right. Because we get distracted. But listen, if we can come into agreement with one another, touch and agree. He said, anything we ask, it will be done by the Father. Now, the anything is going to fall into the lines of anything that grace has already made available to us. That is what we have access to. God is not going to give you things He did not purpose. You're going to ask somebody, come into agreement with me to go rob a bank. Grace didn't make that available for you, so that's not there for you to do, okay? But it's got to be what grace has made available. Anything that we ask according to that, it will be done for us. Do you understand? That is so simple. It is so simple. He makes it so simple. If any 2 of you, the power of 2. Again, we're talking about the power of 2. If any 2 of you will touch and agree, anything you ask, it will be done by my Father, which is in heaven. Oh my gosh, it's so simple. So if you are looking to see manifestation in some area that you know that God has purpose, planned, and promised to you, find another that you know that will come into agreement with you. And when I say agreement in that area too, I'm talking about somebody that will speak into your life when you start to get weary, when you start to feel like you are, you're fainting in whatever it is. Get that person who's there to speak, who's to come into agreement with you. They are there to pick you up. If you are weak and you're by yourself, who can pick you up? Nobody. So this is why the enemy wants to keep you isolated from other people, so that when you start to wither, when you start to wither, there's no one there to revive you. The devil is a lie. Believe you me, you need people. You cannot get through this by yourself. So if you can come into a company, I say the power of two, but if you have a few people in your life that you know got your back, hell or high water, no matter what is happening, they are there to be instrumental to speak life back into you and remind you of the vision, to keep your mind single, to keep your vision single. Understand? Because sometimes, listen, let's be real. Sometimes we go through things and we know what the promise is. We know what we've been believing for. But sometimes we don't see things. We get caught up in our emotions and in our feelings, and then we may start to talk crazy. Let's be real. I know I've done it before. I'm the first one to put my hand up. But you have people around you who know what God has said to you, and that's why it's very important who you tell things to. But someone else can help you keep the faith. That is right, Salima. They can help you keep the faith and keep you focused, following one course until successful. You need that. You need it. You need somebody who's there to help you. So the Lord said, if two of you shall touch and agree with the thought, seeing things the same way, you will then see the same outcome, and we will see the manifestation of whatever it is. So if you ask in one accord together, anything you ask, it's going to be done. But here it is, the minimum of two. The minimum of two together in his name, he is there as well with us. So then if two of us can come together and agree, we automatically bring him into it. Look at this. Which then means, oh wow, Lord, I thank you, because I'm just hearing this now. If we have two together and we agree, touch and agree in his name, he then comes in. He becomes the third, watch me, the third individual in there. So now a cord that has 3 ropes to it is not easily broken. It's easier to unravel a 2-corded rope than it is to unravel a 3-corded rope. So if we got two together and God himself comes into this, we now have 3, and there is a 3-corded rope is not easily broken. Jesus, I thank you. Right there. He just told, listen, Holy Spirit just said, if you have 2 together touching and agreeing, the third automatically comes in, who is the Lord himself will come in, because he said, there I am in the midst with you as well. So we've got 3 in agreement, and the third who is in agreement is the Lord himself. How can you not see manifestation? How can you not see increase? How can you not see reproduction? How can you not see these things? How can you not? If we follow it and make it simple, let's stop making things so complicated. Let's just get down to the simplicity of following instructions. Let's get down to the simplicity of what the word says. Let's stop trying to break it down with hermeneutics and all the other stuff in there. No, what he has said, and what he has done, he has done. And I say it all the time. God is not going to do anything else. He has done everything already. It is now time for us to position ourselves to get in the place we need to be to receive everything he has already purposed and planned for us. So if you are standing there thinking that it's okay, that you're by yourself, I want you to know, find somebody to come into agreement with you. Find somebody that you trust. Find somebody who can speak life into you, who can keep you accountable. Even if it's just one person, because look what we said, 2. We're talking about the power of 2. We're not talking about the power of 22, just 2. Get somebody in your corner, and that one individual will help you move forward, because the Lord himself will be there with you as well. Okay? So we're talking about, we talked about the power of 2. That is episode 33, the power of 2. I want, one of the things I also want to let you guys know is let's get rid of toxins in us. Let's get rid of the things that are holding us back. Let's get rid of the negativity. Let's get rid of all those things, because all those things is preventing us from being good ground to receiving the manifestation. When you can make your heart good ground, so reducing all the toxins in there, allowing, the good things to come in, allowing the seed that God has planted for you, then we will be able to see the manifestation, because seed only grows in good ground. We don't want defected let's say that. We don't want defected fruit. Okay? Anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. If you are just coming in, you want to catch the replay, and to everybody who is on the replay, thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful and blessed day, and I will see you guys again next week, if the Lord allows, for episode 34 with Frame Your Day with Efia. Have a wonderful day, guys. God bless you, and don't forget the power of two. You need somebody. Love you guys. Bye.